Hello, this is the Every Man Can podcast based on mental strength, how we can use it in our everyday lives, interviewing local people, using their experience, their wealth of experience through their personal journeys and their own professional journeys, how they use it for themselves, how they use it for other people, and hopefully you can take something from it. We hope you enjoy. Hello, welcome to another episode of the Every Man Can podcast. It's been a while.
It has.
So we are back. Far too long we've had. So we decided to have a break for a couple of weeks, which has ended up as a bit of a hiatus.
Still a break.
9 weeks.
9 weeks. But
Who's
everyone's
counting?
been busy. I know. How are we all, Rich?
I'm great, but I mean, of those 6 weeks, I was I went away and did that 55-mile run, but then I was ill before that. 4 weeks after that, got ill again. I had 2 weeks off work in 6 weeks, so just virus out and all that stuff. So cleared that out quite quickly, but some other people seem to be getting it a lot longer. But no, I'm great. Loads of good stuff that I can't share. But we've got a big announcement soon, haven't we, for Every Man Can, which we're going to be sharing with the world soon. But it's looking forward to it. But we're sticking to the pod for today.
Yep. Matt, how are you?
Good. I'm full.
Well,
This is what I know we're coming on to this. But
Full of what?
I'm full of good, amazing,
that's
real food.
Yeah.
No, I'm
the words
good.
out
I've had a busy month. I've been off work actually, but only from a musculoskeletal injury. But I'm good.
pulled his calf.
Pulled me calf.
Calf, yeah.
Pulled his calf, not his hose.
Did you hear your how?
He was getting his hose out.
Was he unveiling his horse? Uncurling.
How did you do it?
I'm not telling
Have
you.
you not told him?
No.
I know.
I've told our special guest today, but I'm
So, tell me now, no one will know.
no, this is about food. Not,
Is it about food?
yeah.
Or did you have a food accident?
No.
So,
Did you slip on some gravy?
Yes.
so today we are back at Ormesby Hall.
Great.
I know we've done an interview here before, but we are here at Barefoot Kitchen,
Yeah.
the home of, with Elizabeth Mcguiver.
Mcguiver.
Who's my sister. But we're here today, and we got here. She's done us a roast beef dinner, which is just unbelievable.
If you check out our socials and the Barefoot Kitchen socials, you will see the food that we've just been eating, and that's why I'm full.
It was genuinely a
Unreal.
taste sensation.
And a bit of exciting news that we can announce. We are now sponsored by Everyone Active,
Fantastic.
who are, Matt, you know more.
Absolutely, yes. I've been working with Everyone Active, and they like what we're doing and like what they're hearing from our podcasts, and they sponsor us.
Yeah.
So
They're going to be
thank you very
supporting
much.
us in different ways, I think.
Absolutely, we're going to be using their venues for our podcast studios, as we do. We're quite on the road type of podcast studios, aren't we? So we're going to be using their venues and lots of other good stuff coming.
Fantastic. And of course, if anyone else wants to be a sponsor of the Every Man Can, enjoys the messages, get in touch, and it'll just help us keep doing it. And it'll link into the big announcement that we've got coming up as well. That
All helps.
Be super exciting to hear more about as well. So this is not the first time we've been. Last time we were here, we were outside. It's a bit rainy today, so we've come indoors. But last time we were here, we were interviewing the Conscious Man. Were we not? We recorded a meditation as well. That was all good. And at the same time, Liz, who we're interviewing today, was indoors cooking. I'll not say anything more on that. But ultimately, I know, yeah. Like what? Well, exactly. The men were outside doing a podcast while the woman was in the kitchen cooking. It just sounds a little bit old-fashioned, doesn't it? Really, the way I presented
like
it.
that, but thank you. For presenting
It's all right.
idea.
Tell them what you think.
It's all right. You should have heard what Matt said before he walked in the door. So, Liz,
Yes.
Elizabeth Mcguiver. Mcguiver. She's just doing it. I
gonna be
think
all-
Ed's doing it now just to
McGiver.
wind her up.
Liz.
Just say Liz.
Where you been, Liz?
Liz.
So you own Barefoot Kitchen
I
and
do.
Barefoot Pies.
I do.
Based here from Ormesby Hall. Tucked away a little bit in this, what do you call this?
This is the old police stables.
All right.
We've still got the alert status up there. So
But,
it's a listed building,
right.
and it's the original stables for the hall, and obviously all the courtyard and everything. This is where Lady Pennyman used to put on her stage productions.
No kidding.
Courtyard.
Well, they've done a hell of a job of fitting it out. You would never have thought there was horses in their stables
This
at
is
some
the
point.
tack unit you sat at.
It's a what?
The tack unit.
Really? And so now it's getting used to support all your catering equipment and all that. That's awesome.
And to sit up.
So you were you own Barefoot Kitchen. Been running this for how long?
It's coming up to 5 years.
5 years.
Yes.
We're going to talk a bit more about the ethos of the business and so on. You're mother to 2 amazing kids
I am.
as well. You've got to say that, haven't you?
Of course you have.
You've got to. Oh, yeah. One amazing kid and one's a little bit of shit. I'm joking. But, yeah. I'm just reading this. That's what it says. Mother to 2 amazing kids. Married to husband who you describe as fucking wonderful.
He is.
Fantastic. A grandma or nana, which your family call Lilla.
I don't. It's grandma.
No,
Grandma.
They
Granny's.
call me Nana, but
Yeah,
the baby's going to call me Lilla because that's what kids call me because I can't pronounce Elizabeth.
Can I call you
I
Nana
can't
Liz?
cope with grandma. And I can't. No, I sound
Nana
like,
Liz today.
sounds like, what was it, Ben and Holly? Nanny Plum. I can't call. No.
I can see a brand, Barefoot Kitchen, tin something, with Nana Liz's. I know, yeah, right. You're a qualified welder at 16, starting your career in engineering.
Sort of, yeah.
We'll come to that. And you're one of the team that made the last alignment of the blast furnace.
I was
in
on the
Teesside.
project team on the realignment, yeah.
Right, the project
Very
team of the
last
realignment.
one.
Not hands-on.
Yes and no.
Ah,
Yes and
very
no.
good.
I'll tell you a little bit more about
okay.
it.
One of your claims to fame, one of them, I'm sure there'll be more, many, many more, was that you played saxophone on stage
I did.
at the Royal Festival Hall in the South Bank in London.
I did when I was 14.
Was it Baker Street?
No, it was War of the Worlds.
Oh, really?
It was one of the War of the Worlds ones. Knights in White Satin.
Liz, do you know what
And
I'm
then
getting?
did
I'm getting a
something
picture
else.
of here.
It wasn't just me. I was in a band. It
So
wasn't
we've
just
mentioned
me.
you've mentioned the welding and we
Yeah.
mentioned saxophone. Have you seen that film? Is it called
So just
Flashdance?
me.
Flashdance, yeah. Exactly.
She's welding
I
at the
haven't got
stage.
any leg warmers
Yeah.
though.
What's the song from that?
Yeah.
Flashdance.
What's the song?
Flashdance.
It is no. But how's it go? Sing it. Go on. How's
I'm
it go?
not singing it.
Go on.
But the song is Flashdance.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm getting that vibe. I'm getting
Is that what it is? Matt knows it. So yeah, Flashdance vibes. Liz, Flashdance.
Well, okay.
So Barefoot Kitchen. Should we start there? So
Can
it's exciting. 5 years. Some
Yep.
changes over the 5 years, or where are you at now?
Lots of changes. So it's just me now. And I am moving from being a community interest company to being a sole trader. It's just because of the expense of it, really. Funding's very scarce, particularly with an election coming up. And I'll need to make some money, and you can't make money if you're a kick. I'm still going to have the social enterprise element to it. So I'm still going to be doing everything that Barefoot does. It'll just be on my terms.
Right. I feel like I want to ask more questions about that, but
I thought you might.
yeah, no, but from the kick side of things. But
Yeah.
so when you started off, when you started off 5 years ago, what was the idea of the business? Is it something a bit different to normal catering, or?
To grow food and to put food on a table, it was a full plot to plate, but then COVID hit and my side of the business vanished overnight. So within our first year, it was over 30,000 that I was predicted to bring in, and that went overnight in our first year. So I work heavily within the arts as well, within theatre companies, and Mima and the like, to put food on as part of a performance, part of a gallery, part of an artist's whatever it is. So obviously all of that vanished during COVID, but I'm picking it all back up now. The artistic side of it is what I really want to concentrate on.
How would you go from working in the industries that you did, welding, project teams for steel industry and all that, blast furnaces, to being a caterer in Barefoot?
So I've always adored food. Second I wake up, it's what I think about, and I just think about it all day. So I did that, engineering all over the place, chemical, petrochem, all sorts of stuff. I was a buyer and all sorts of things. Ended up at AMEC as the tech sheet coordinator for the National Grid substation projects. And then everything started to close down, and I was pregnant, and there was an opportunity to move away to work on the Humber Bank, which we took. And then I had my son a month after we moved away, and I felt seriously ill for 3 years, 3.5 years. It was celiac disease, but I was really, really ill. I couldn't leave the house. I lost all my hair, bloated to 17.5 stone. My fingernails fell out, all sorts of awful stuff. I was covered in psoriasis. It was horrendous. So it took about 3.5 years to get diagnosed. And then when I came to from that, which took a long time, I was thinking what my next move was job-wise. And my work in engineering was everyday learning because it was technical safety. So you were learning about incidents that had happened all over the world every day and keeping up with risk registers and all that boring stuff. And I was for about 4 or 5 years out of the loop, and it would have meant going back to university and starting all over again, which I didn't want to do. So I just thought, well, I can cook. And I started in a tea room in the village of the Damned where I was living at the time. Oh, don't even start me on that.
I feel like they could have come up with a better name.
I just started in the tea room. There was a little sign on the door saying, can you cook and can you wash up, basically? And I did. And then within a year, I was at a local manor house doing the patisserie for weddings. I could just do it. So I trained myself up to be a chef. I've got no formal qualifications, and I've had extremely low moments. It's not easy working in professional kitchens. It's pretty horrific most of the time, but I've done every single job there is to do in a kitchen, and that's how I'm now here.
Fantastic. So it's something that wasn't even naturally a passion, but it's developed that way. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I can't. It's a vocation. I can't not work with food. Even if it's just I'm writing about food, talking about food, or I'm out with growers, or I'm out with farmers, I have to work. I have to work with food, otherwise I just have no interest.
Fantastic. Right. First question we always ask our guests is, what is mental strength to you?
It depends.
Okay.
On the scenario. So I mentioned working in kitchens there. So I was once working in a kitchen, and it was a few years ago now. The sun basically came out in the April and it didn't vanish until about the October. It was just hot all the time, which Matthew will testify. I hate the heat anyway. I love the sun, but I hate the heat. And I was stood, and it was a 12-hour shift, and I never moved, because if you take a break, you can't get back into it. Well, I can't. I'm a concentration breaks, can't get into it. I was over a 6 gas ring burner, a great big commercial grill,
slow cooking,
a double oven, and a charcoal barbecue
Christ.
for 12 hours. And I held a meat thermometer in front of me, and it was over 50 degrees. And I was just drinking Diorolite all day long.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of strength, the physicality of that. You have to overcome what your body's doing.
Right.
And that's a day at work. It's not doing like them mad runs that you do where you choose to do it. It's, I need to do it to get paid, and you're getting paid crap wages as well. There's that side of it. And then the mental strength, I think, as well, comes from being a parent, particularly a single parent. I mean, I won't bore everyone with everything that everybody knows about being a parent. And I think parenting now is so different from when I had my daughter. Kids these days, maybe it's me getting old, they just don't seem to see the world.
Just say it how you say it. It's
yeah,
not too serious.
It's just, and the mental strength is some days for me, it is actually just about getting up and leaving the house. Yeah. That takes everything I've got. I'm not going to lie, it does sometimes. And other days it's just, somebody asked me the other day, what you doing with yourself? I went, well, I'm retraining a German Shepherd who got attacked. My daughter's just had a horrific birth and first grandchild. So yeah, I'm renovating a house, and I'm trying to get a small business through a dying economy. And they were like, oh, and I was like, oh yeah, that takes mental strength.
Sure.
And I think as well, being the type of woman that I am, I'm that person in the house that I'm the central focus of it. Everything sort of revolves around not what I say, but I'm like I'm feeling it. I feel everything and all this type of thing. Everyone's very independent within it, but it's like I'm the central focus, so it's constantly juggling everybody and everything. You're
like your own PA.
Yeah.
For the family. The thing is, one of the things you said there is that basically it seems like I probably sum it up by saying it's about, I mean, one of the things you said there is about the body sort of wanting to stop doing it and doing it anyway. And sort of some days you don't want to get out of bed and get it and doing it anyway. Well, I've got to do it, so you just do it anyway. So your mental strength you're talking about there is probably like, I'd say that is almost pure mental strength, isn't it? But it's about like resilience, isn't it? Like, I've got to get these things done. You've been there to a very dark place with physical health, which no doubt will have had its knock-on effect, of course, which would have made things worse probably. Yeah. And then is part of that motivated by a sort of sense of not wanting to end up back in that place? Is it almost like not a fear, but a sort of like a force pushing you on?
Sort of. I think it comes from being a single parent. Because I always say I was a proper single parent,
Right.
especially with my daughter. I didn't get weekends off and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
You know, it was just me doing it. I had my family and my friends around me, but ultimately it was me. And if I didn't get up and go out and go to work, we had nothing.
Yeah.
I've been in a similar situation with the kids again when they were older, due to an ex-partner. And it's like, it's just like, so I get up and go out and do it, because if I don't do it, then I'm not relying on anyone. It just drives my husband insane, because he's like, no, you have me now. I'm like, I know, but I'm still independent.
Yeah.
And it's always, that's been a massive driving force for me. That if I don't go to work, I'm not getting paid. Therefore, we don't have any food and we don't have any fuel in the car. We can't pay the bills. So it's that.
I suppose now, though, running your own business,
Yeah.
it's not like you're going to work for someone you can ring in sick and get paid for 2 weeks sick.
No.
No.
So now you have to get up.
You have to. So at the beginning of the year, I was struggling a lot. Just really it was tired. It was absolute tiredness and exhaustion. The last couple of years have been incredibly stressful, and I was like, ugh. And so I took January just to plan, do this, that, the other, and then I was like, came February, I was like, oh shit, I forgot I need to earn some money, because I just got used to, well, this is a nicer way of working. So again, it's like small business, cost increases, and it's coming back to that. It's like, nope. So like the next 2 weeks, I haven't got a day off. And everyone goes, oh, that's insane. I'm like, that's running a business.
Is it? I mean, it's difficult running your own business. Is that not should that not be a motivating factor to work for the man again, or is this something pushing you away from that stronger?
I can't. I can't follow rules. I understand why rules are there. I do, and I do abide by them, which sounds odd coming from a health and safety background. I understand why some rules are in place. I do, but if it's the bullshit and the bureaucracy and the nonsense that it's there just to, and it starts in schools I just
it does. Yeah.
I just can't, and it's again going back to the kick world, the social enterprise world. I see every day so much money millions of pounds getting wasted just because they've said they've ticked the right boxes. They're not achieving anything or doing anything. Nothing's long lasting. And I can't. So I'm pulling myself out of that world as well, because I can't bear the man.
It's interesting, isn't it? I think I want to go back to, obviously you're my sister.
Mm-hmm.
And I know
what's gone down.
Yeah, and I know what's happened and the ins and outs of everything, really. But I want to go back to the celiac disease, because obviously...
It was horrific.
And the impact it was having on you at the time. And you weren't local here, you were living elsewhere in Epworth at the time.
And living in a very, very abusive...
Where's it, Epworth? Sorry.
The Isle of Axholme, just outside Scunthorpe.
Oh, okay. And sorry,
place.
let me let you continue, because I just came at a bad
It's
time.
all right. No, you're
But
all right.
away from your family, not in a very good relationship as it turned out.
No.
A young son, a daughter, and then this disease hit you. And I think at the time, looking back now, I feel a bit bad now, because I didn't really...
I wouldn't.
No, but I do. But I don't really understand the impact probably that was having on you mentally more. And forget the outside influences, more the disease and trying to get that diagnosed and trying to figure out what was going on. Just talk about that a little bit more around...
So celiac disease is more heard of now. This is a long time ago. I mean, how old are you now? 17. So he's 17 now. So it was 17 years ago it hit me. It was clearly always something that was underlying, thinking back. And everyone just goes, oh, it's because you can't eat gluten. I can't, no. Which is the very basic black and white of it. But what it does to my body is just so intense and so painful. I would rather go through childbirth again. It's just horrific. I mean, the last time I actually got affected was when we went to Bransdale and we went in the sweet shop. And for some reason, I didn't check what we were having when we got excited in the sweet shop. Loads of sweets. And I ate a load of sweets. Oh my God. I was 3 weeks. I was it's horrific. And it's a humiliating disease. As anything that's to do with your bowels or your intestines, your stomach, wherever, it is humiliating. And that was the side of it that took me the longest to get over, because I couldn't leave the house. Some days I couldn't stand up without it was just...
Was this because you didn't know what it was at the time?
Didn't know what it was. They told me I was depressed, which I was, because I had postnatal depression as well, which I was dealing with at the same time, and I was in an abusive relationship, so dealing with that at the same time. When you are fatigued, it takes a massive toll on you, as we all know. But when it's fatigue through illness and you don't know where it is, and you're going to the doctors every day and sat crying and begging them to please just get me tested, please just get me tested. In the end, I was sat with another doctor. I don't know how many doctors I saw. And I had my son, who was a baby, well, he was a toddler at the time. I had him, and they said that they were testing me for rheumatoid arthritis with the promise that I'll be wheelchair bound for the rest of my life, because I get the joint pain's incredible. Or when that came back, if that was going to be negative, it was bowel cancer they were going for, and I was like, oh, shit, okay. So I didn't get a cancer diagnosis, thank God, but I was left to linger with the possibility of that and not having a very long life. And then trying to deal with that without being able to keep my eyes open whilst trying to look after 2 kids and 2 dogs and juggle everything else that you have to do. It was just awful. I was constantly dehydrated, and because then everyone says, eat ginger biscuits when you feel sick. So I was eating ginger biscuits, and it was making me 100 times worse. In the end, a doctor was called out because I couldn't physically get out of the bed, and I was just screaming in agony. And he just took one look at me and he just said, no, I can't admit you to hospital. You're too weak. You'll come back out with something far, far worse. Right. So, and again, as Matthew said, I was living 100 miles from home. I had 2 young children, and I didn't have no friends, nothing. You know, I mean, I'm going to say this now. So my best mate, so she was round the corner. I used to go, mate, I've shit myself in Asda again. Do you know what I mean? She's like, get yourself to charge for some action slacks. Yeah. You know what I mean? But that's how I deal with everything through humour.
That is a low point, isn't it?
You stood in Asda in Scunthorpe of all places, and you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, here we go again. And it was just, So I'd managed to get to Asda, and I was like, okay, we'll just go back to the car. Go home. It was just awful. And if it wasn't that, I couldn't leave the house because of the vomiting, and I got hernias and all sorts of things. I didn't have any eyebrows or eyelashes or fingernails, and it was just...
Weirdly, though, out of the blue, you were fine up to a point, and then suddenly, bang, this shit suddenly started affecting you.
It was the pregnancy of my son that triggered it. It was always something that's underlying, and our mum has a thyroid removed, and it's something to do with the same DNA chain, and it's more prevalent within people of Irish descent. Right. I've found out something to do with the potato famine, probably. I wasn't being like disparaging about the potato famine. It probably is that something to do with that, because it changed people's DNA and the digestive systems. So it's something that was underlying. Yeah, and it was triggered by the pregnancy.
So, moving on, isn't it interesting that food has caused this for you, ultimately?
Yep.
And now you use food in such a way that you bring so much joy to people with your food and the way you present things. I mean, I've done events with you and I've helped you out, and everybody is like, I just want to work for Liz. It's unbelievable. It's this and this. I mean, we've cooked in the woods before, which I just was like, do you get paid for this shit? Like, this is unbelievable. But to use, I think what's really powerful, and again, I'm not just saying, excuse me, you're my sister and I'm proud of you, but to come through all of that where food has caused so much harm to you, a lot of people would have just stayed away from food, and the cause of what's made you poorly, you've flipped that. And whether you've subconsciously done that or not, you've used that as a tool to probably keep your own mind right now. Because without this, I know if all this goes absolutely tits up, and you will never move away from food.
Never. I'd just start again the next day. I would just start again. This is what it did with my passion for food. Is it drove me to learn more about food, about ingredients, because I have to read every single package that's there now. I learnt more about food intolerances, people's diets, how good food can heal people, mentally and physically. It doesn't have to be like the most nutritious meal on the earth. It can be anything at all, but as long as you present it properly and eat it properly and share it properly, that works wonders for people. And also as well, for a business, I've got a unique selling point. I'm a celiac chef. And for other celiacs and other people who have food intolerances, they then have implicit trust in me that they're not going to be ill from their food. So, I mean, the pies alone that I sell, people come and people buy them, and we make hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them every month. And people buy them because they know they can trust me with it, because there's nothing like that on the market.
Fantastic.
There's a poor quality version of it, but it's not as good.
Do you know on that? I know you. We haven't had our dessert yet, have we? We had our main course. Let's go to a quick break. We'll come back, grab a bit of dessert, shall we?
Okay.
Sounds good. We'll come back in a sec. Thank you.
Okay.
We're just having a quick breather from the podcast. Just to let you know, you can find Every Man Can on all your normal social media platforms. You can also get this podcast and all of our other episodes wherever you get your podcasts from. All we ask, and this is the only thing we will ever ask of anybody, is that you like, share and follow everything that we do, because all we do this for is to help and inspire other people.
Hello, we're back. Oh, that dessert. Those strawberries. Just tell me about the strawberries quickly.
It's a macerated strawberry.
Macerated
strawberry. So all that is strawberries washed, dried, and then a sprinkle of icing sugar, a squeeze of lime juice, and a drop of vanilla, and just mix them through gently till the icing sugar dissolves, and leave them overnight.
Man alive. I've never had a strawberry that good. And I like strawberries, trust me. So, thank you. Let's go. Two things I'd like to sort of cover. I think we'd like to just cover a bit more is the nature of mental health, particularly to the condition that you had 3 years suffered with and sort of have started to manage. And that experience you mentioned about postnatal depression, difficult relationship, abusive relationship. And then I think the other thing we'll flip over is to talk about this really interesting connection that you've discovered between, and many people have as well, between food and mental health. Now, you're certainly not alone in that topic area. Do you know what I mean? In the sort of awareness field, that's for sure. So we'll come to that in a sec. So you mentioned postnatal depression.
I did.
Some people have different experiences. I've just been involved in a conference we organised on April 11th, which was called Wellbeing Alternatives to the Medicalisation of Human Distress. And it was all about kind of the fact that we send people down the medical model route way too much. The NHS recognising this as well. People end up on antidepressants, and as if that's the problem. As if there isn't a whole range of other things going on in their life that can cause that. However, just tell us a little bit about your experience postnatal and then leading to the problem.
Well, first of all, postnatal depression, as all illnesses, is incredibly different for every single woman that suffers from it. I'm very fortunate that I didn't suffer with it like I know some people have.
Right.
For all it wasn't great, I don't talk about postnatal depression lightly, because I know how horrific it can be and how long lasting it can be. And when you hold your baby and you feel nothing, it is horrendous. So I've been on antidepressants before, and what they did was just stop all thought, all feeling, all everything, and it was awful. And that was what my postnatal depression did for me. It was more a feeling of just despair, because there was nothing. I had no emotion, I had no humour, I had no conversation. And obviously we're dealing with what we were talking about earlier with the illness I was going through as well, but this wasn't part of it. But what was very difficult for the doctors to say to me was, oh, you're ill and you have postnatal depression. It was, no, you're just depressed. There you go.
That's what they did.
For 3 years, that's what they told me. I was depressed.
Do you think that was because that was like the overriding thing that they were observing?
They thought the illness, the pain I was in and everything like that was manifesting itself because of postnatal depression.
Wow. So psychosomatic. They thought
and it really, I was like, no, No, this isn't right at all.
You know your body best yourself. People do though, don't they?
Well, when you shit yourself in Asda,
Yeah,
that's not yes, that's a depressing situation.
Join the Brown Club in Asda, Scunthorpe Asda.
It's a depressing situation, but depression doesn't cause that.
Didn't we have a chance of Scunthorpe Asda were going to sponsor us? Well, that's well and truly gone out the window now. Well, it's been flushed away, that opportunity, I'm afraid.
I think we tenor pads now.
Brought to you by.
And as you know, big pharma, we're never going to get anything from them.
So so that, and it was really difficult trying to juggle that whilst being so physically incapacitated, as well as dealing with that and the stress of being in an incredibly abusive situation as well, which didn't obviously help anything at all. So yeah, it was great. Thank you for sharing that. It's obviously It's
quite
all right,
very
no.
personal, and thank you. But what about the emergence of that? Getting, what was the light at the end of the tunnel? What started to happen?
Well, when I got diagnosed, the celiac disease was diagnosed, and then everything else, and my body had absolutely no nutritional value left in it whatsoever. There was no salts, light sugars, or anything. So it wasn't just I was diagnosed and then within a few weeks I was feeling better. It took years. But I did slowly start to feel better, and I started earning my own money a little bit. And I was sort of like blinking through the fog, if you like, and coming out the other side. And then I just thought, one day I can't do this anymore. And so we upped and left, and that was it. I was like, right, sort of get on with it. Right. I'm not opposed to antidepressants. I'd advocate if anybody's on them, don't be ashamed of it. Doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
No, it's fine. Long term, short term, whatever. They just don't work for me. They stop. I'm a very, very creative person, and they stop all thought.
They tend to be seen as certainly when you look at the medical model, that and counselling, like CBT seems to be seen as the gold standard, and it's like, it's not. It's just the simple fact is, it's just not the case. It's like for the majority of people, statistically speaking, it's not actually the solution.
I know, and I'm a bit of an arsehole when I've been to counselling.
Right.
I know what they expect me to say.
You're a difficult person to counsel.
I'm very difficult.
Right, okay.
I am a proper arse. So I went to one. I went to one, and it was
like
about,
brother, like sister.
It was Well, yeah, it was about my intro. But if you're there to help me, you have to understand that I'm an independent individual, and that I'm not the same as every other person, and my brain really doesn't work like anybody else's, which Matthew will testify to since we were kids. But I remember with one count, it was about, we were discussing it, I get horrific intrusive thoughts, and I still do, and I have done for years. And I was discussing this with him. So she said, "Oh, right, I'm going to try something."
Move
put
the knife fridge.
down. Yeah, I won't give you warning, remember. Boom, straight in.
Right, yeah.
And she said, "Right, I don't want you to think about a pink polar bear." I went, "All right, then."
Of course.
All right, then. And she went, "Right, what you thinking of?" I went, "Blue penguin." And I sound like an absolute arsehole. And she just looked at me, she went, "Oh." She was trying to see me how you can control your thoughts. She said, "So I'll put that idea in your head, and then that's what you know." I said, "But you told me not to." So I didn't. That's the bit my brain focused on. It wasn't the pink polar bear. It was the don't think of that. And that's the bit. So I didn't. And then I went to felt the blue penguin.
I think it wasn't for you.
See, I went through counselling, and I would say in the past 6 to 8 weeks, I've needed that counsellor back again. But due to probably finances, I can't. And without her, I don't think I'd have got to where I was in 2022. 5 hours every week for a year, and I found it really amazing.
Oh yeah, I mean,
but on the same token, I was that desperate for help that I wasn't an arse. I just went, "You got to help me." And
oh yeah,
so then I went through the EMDR route, and for 6 weeks I had EMDR, and I would sit with my counsellor and just cry. It was unreal, like what came out. So for me, it really worked. And I suppose it's how open you want to be with a counsellor. I think that's key.
I'm not open because I'm so distrusting of people.
Yeah.
People have to really, really prove themselves. Not prove themselves, that's the wrong way. I'm just distrusting of people because of experiences. So, but myself and my son went through counselling with my sister's place, actually. And that was helpful in a way that I was going through a horrendous time with the courts, and that helped me get through the legal side of it, whereas it really helped my son deal with trauma. Even though he was just like, no, I'm not going, it's rubbish, it's rubbish. He was like, no, you go.
And when he started going, he started engaging with it?
He went for 6 months.
Yeah.
Once a week
Well, that's
for
a good
6
sign,
months.
isn't
Yeah. Yeah, dealing with a lot about his dad. But yeah, so I've had all sorts of different counselling in the past. It's just, I think a lot of it is, well, if you find the right person.
There's a synchronicity with that Gabor Mate was in a video talking about yesterday or so, and it was about Gabor Mate. He's a one of the well-known speakers around trauma.
Okay.
Like he's a physician from Canada.
Fantastic.
No, he's amazing. And basically what he was saying was that there's been studies done where they've looked at the synchronicity of heart frequency
Right.
when they're doing counselling. And actually what you see is when counselling works very well, it's because you have two people that are aligned, basically, and you can actually study and see the frequency they're giving off through the energy, and it's actually aligned and it's synchronized. So it's actually measurable. But the point is about therapies. It's not for everyone, but it's something that can work for a lot of people. And it's like you said there. It's like you've got to find what works for you, and those things can work. But there's just a whole plethora of other things that we need to look at, which brings us to the next part of this. So I'm looking at all these bowls of food in front of us, and since I started in the NHS in 2004, Mind produced a guide not long after that called the Good Mind. No, the Good. Oh, it was to do with food and mood. I think it was Food and Mood. It was called, and it was all about kind of how different diets affect our mood. So this is something you've clearly got into, but you mentioned earlier on that you are what did you say? You call yourself something chef? What do you?
I'm a celiac.
Celiac chef. So literally, now spell celiac.
COELIC.
It's not. It doesn't look like how you say it, does it? Celiac chef. So basically, you're cooking food that anyone could eat.
Anyone.
But people that experience celiac, they're not going to. What you're basically saying is they can eat the food you make, and they're not going to experience the side effects, which impact. Was it large bowel? Like it's using
your lower intestine.
Lower intestine, and then specifically something that happens in your lower intestine
so your lower intestine are full of villi, which are like little small finger-like weird things, and when you have a healthy lower intestine and everything's working fine, they are up and they absorb all your nutrients and everything like that.
Okay.
When a celiac absorbs gluten into their system, an autoimmune reaction is kicked off, and those villi go flat.
To protect the body.
Yeah. So all your protection goes literally.
Yeah. It does.
It has to.
Like Asda.
Yeah. So the first thing is you get the shits, basically. That's the first thing that's going to happen.
Extreme, but no, it's not actually. What I get is within 10 minutes of me absorbing it, I'll be very brief on this because I know we're short of time, I go completely white. It's like all my iron's left my body, and it's like I need to go to sleep, and then the pain starts, and it's like my bowels are twisting. I can only compare it to labour pains. It's horrific. And then for me, it's extreme vomiting for about 3 days, and then the shits start.
And all that's an autoimmune response. Unwanted autoimmune.
It feels like my body is just trying to get rid of everything. You know, you have bad food poisoning, and your body's like, no, we're getting rid.
And like you said there, some people can be celiac and have minor symptoms, and all the way up to hugely debilitating, like you had as well, with everything else that went on. I wonder how much you mentioned about the pregnancy could have brought this on. You were obviously going through a lot of stress and abuse, and we've known now for a long time. We keep discovering more and more about stress if it impacts the body as well. How much of that do you think was a factor as well?
It probably is. I mean, there's definitely a physical trigger to it. The stress I went through in 2019, actually, with the end result of the abusive relationship, has had a far more damaging effect on my body than anything that went before. But I had a kid when I was 21 on my own, do you know what I mean? I've been stressed for 27 years. I think it's going to be, but I just disappear with my dog if I find myself getting like that. So I have my way of dealing with things.
Very good. What else do you do? Before we go on the food and a bit more, what do you do that helps you keep your head above water?
I drink too much. I do.
Family trait.
I do. No, it's ridiculous. I was saying this to Matt the other day. So when I feel depression coming on, if you've seen Spider-Man 3 with the black alien, what's it called? I can't remember now.
Venom.
Venom. In how it's depicted in Spider-Man 3, the Tobey Maguire one, where it comes and just over him, and they have to do something massive to get rid of it. That's how my depression works, and I ignore it all the time, and then I drink shitloads, and I go, oh, there it is, and then it has me, and then I have to work at something massive to get rid of it. Yeah.
Or walk the dog.
Yeah, but I walk the dog every single day.
Whilst drinking.
Whilst drink, no. I walk him before I have a drink. No, I'm not. I don't drink too much all the time. It's just when I'm very, very stressed. It's a really childish way of just forgetting I'm not even going to ignore that. I'm going to ignore venom coming.
Yeah.
I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to ignore it. And then when it's on me, I go, oh, that's why I'm covered in cold sores.
I'd like to hope that over time you've got better at that as well.
No. I know I'm very accepting of my mental health issues. Is that the word? Of my mental health. And I've accepted it as part of me, as part of my personality. I know what my triggers are and I know how to deal with things. Right. But I still fucking ignore it every time.
Do you know what though, Rich? You once said something to me when I was a couple of years ago, and I was saying to you, I'm drinking. You went to me, just don't beat yourself up about it, Matt.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Like, you've had a drink, you know you shouldn't have had. Don't worry about it. It's when you don't know. Do you know what I mean? So it's when you're like, well, that's fine, I'll do that again.
That's it.
And we all have our vices. We all have our ways of dealing with stuff. Some people get angry, some people go and fight, some people will disappear and not talk to anyone for ages.
We clearly have got a gene where we just drink.
Some people might dip in the hallucinogenics. But yeah, I know sometimes
I'm managing it. It's not like letting it get out, whiz out of control and become your override.
I go to the shop sometimes and I'm thinking, what? But I don't. From the advice you gave me, I don't beat myself up anymore about that.
That's it. Yeah, because you're not like it's not like every day. It's not becoming an addiction. It's not becoming like a dependency, is it? It's something which you use to wind down, and you've got other things as well that you do and all that as well.
My husband can see it as well, but he waits until I go, I'm drinking too much, Anna, and he goes, probably.
Takes all the knives away.
He doesn't say, right, he doesn't point it out or anything like that. He just goes,
Yeah.
That's it. So.
Thank you, Liz. So, tell us everything you can tell us in 10 minutes about food and mood, but especially the celiac side of things.
So, because you've only got a short.
Sorry?
So if you forget this,
Sean Connery there, short.
It's because all my lips are all dry, mate. If we take the celiac thing away from it for a moment,
okay,
right?
Yes.
So, as a chef and as a person who works with food, banging. My whole ambition, my whole ethos, my whole business is about getting people access to really good food. That's where my passion is. Okay. It's creating new food systems.
Right.
It's not trying to fix the broken ones. It's the fucked. We can't do anything with it. So what we have to do is start small and start again. And it's going to take a generation at least to implement them. So I'm at the very start of that, working on a national project and on a Yorkshire-wide project with the commission. I have access to the farmers. I have access to the National Trust land, the growers and everything like that. And I'm taking really small steps. But I believe everybody deserves good food. I don't believe we should be creating reliant systems for our most vulnerable. By that, I mean food banks and eco shops and handouts and surplus food. And surplus food is not the answer to poverty. Poverty is the answer to surplus food. And there isn't hundreds of Wembley stadiums filled with surplus food every year. There isn't, because most of it is only fit for anaerobic digestion. It's just facts and figures that then don't get filtered down properly. So what I do is I present food in a way that everybody goes, ooh, what's that? People come to the table because of the way I do food. There is nothing complicated about it. Yes, it's pretty and I make things look lovely, but that's what gets people. Not everybody is confident about eating food as well. Some people don't like to be seen eating. Some people don't feel confident sat with a stranger. Whereas I always say, I don't care who you are or whatever it is, there's always an extra seat at the table. And that, to me, is where it comes in to help people's well-being, is that old thing of sitting around a table and talking around food opens discussion. It's where the magic happens. you can have an argument, you can have a debate, you can bollock the kids for getting told off at school, but everybody's there around that table, and things are resolved around food, I find. And I always insist that people leave my table with a full belly and a full mind. Whatever the conversation is or whoever the people are, that's one thing I absolutely insist on. And it's not necessarily about the nutritional value and obviously how that benefits you. But when you experience good food in a lovely setting with people that you're comfortable with, even if they are strangers, and there's no barriers there, then people leave a lot more relaxed often than when they came. Does that make sense?
Social side of food.
Yeah,
you want to
it is, and it's really important, and I think this country has completely lost it. We don't sit down for Sunday dinners anymore. You look at, how Europe eats food every day, shares food, the family thing, the friends thing, and it's just, this country's about fast food and shite food.
I was working with 4 Nigerian students recently on that conference, and they were saying the same thing about their observation in the UK. Is it like everything social in Nigeria, they were saying, happens around food? It's like a huge deal.
Every culture, every single culture apart from ours.
So just when you're on about culture and stuff, so obviously Indian, Pakistani, Sri Lankan, African, Italian, Spanish.
Every meal is a celebration.
Yeah. And do you think that's a white British thing that we're losing, or do you think it's
I think it exists within our family still. If we're all getting together, the first thing is food. Who's bringing what, who's doing what. We're always about food, and there's a lot of other families are as well.
But when I talk about white British,
yeah,
I'm saying...
Oh, yeah. So when I talk to the universities, and they all want food workshops because the students are now isolated because they're a product of COVID. There's language barriers, there's this, there's that, they don't integrate. So what they're realising is food, but the food that's available on various campuses isn't great and very expensive. But then they're like, we'll do these cooking workshops for these overseas students. I'm like, it's not the overseas students that need the cooking workshops, it's the white British kids that need the bloody cooking and the knowledge. And I'm not saying it's everyone. No conversation is ever about everybody. It's just what I've found working in the way that I work is there is a real lack of knowledge and appreciation and just no experience about celebrating food. To me, sitting down with you guys then, that was still a celebration of food.
Oh, 100%.
What we've just had.
Yeah. No phone set aside. We were just eating, chatting, taking the piss out of each other, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And
no
listening.
wine, no. Wish I brought a bottle of wine.
We'll do that next time. I won't drive, I'll get a taxi.
Absolutely. What about
you drinking?
I'll just have a bottle in the house.
There's some sugar in this food here, and there's some salt and all that
There
kind
is
of
the
stuff.
sugar, but I believe in butter.
Yeah,
I believe
100%.
in full fat cream. I believe in beautifully sourced meat, which this is from an off-grid farm.
Nice.
And it is that age-old thing. Everything is brilliant for you if you do it in small.
Yes, of course.
Small proportion.
And that's fundamentally you've hit the nail on the head, haven't you, with food?
Yeah.
It's obviously you're a big fan of processed food that goes halfway around the world, gets sprayed, and then goes back to the same part of the world again.
Yeah, it's all that.
Shoveled.
And that's going back to what I was saying earlier. The food systems are broken. They can't be repaired. So the only thing we can do is start again. But particularly up here, you get your Bestest Blue Peter badge for the amount of poor people that you've fed with shit food.
So, what would the systems look like that would make it operate better? What would be the change that you would want to see? Like if we could whiz forward 50 years and things have improved, what does it look like?
It's like it needs to go back in time.
Right.
Everybody's doing these projects now. Everybody grow your own food at home and you can't. Society has changed too much for that.
Yeah.
We need to stop building swathes of crap houses on land that can be farmed. We need to pay the farmers properly. The farmers need to have legacy now. There's a lot of young people who've been brought up in farming and not going into it anymore because there's no money in it. Right. It's just too difficult.
What's the result? Where will that end up then?
We'll have no farmers.
And we'll have like just even worse versions of like monocrops.
We won't. We won't. Very, very worst situation. The worst situation you can look at is if they don't start paying the farmers properly and supporting them and everything else that needs to go on. But this is with the fishing industries and everything as well. There will be no fish. There will be no meat. There will be no crops. So what do? You know, we're a nation of farmers, and we always were. So what I'm trying to do, particularly the Fix Our Food Commission, is look at these problems. As I said, there's nothing that can be fixed, but what we can do is start again. And to me, the only solution to that is making really small circular economies with food so it stays here. If we can't grow tomatoes up here, we'll have to learn to live without tomatoes because the people in the southwest are growing tomatoes, and that's for them. It is really, and people, oh, what are you going to do? Take avocados off the shelf? Well, you don't eat an avocado. Shut up. It's that type of thing. Well, it's true. Do you know what I mean? What's the cost of flying bananas over from the Congo that are just then sent to, what do you call them? What's the correct word? A redistributor of food for them then to go in the bin. You just don't eat bananas. And it's taken it back to seasonal, which is very difficult because of the environmental impact on the land at the moment. To take the orchard that I work closely with is a really, really small example of that. Last year there was hardly any fruit crop because of the flooding. But what we need for flooding is more trees because they're the biggest absorbers of the water. But what do we do when we build housing estates? Chop down trees. So it's a whole it needs to be looked at right from the start. Whether they'll ever will, there's not going to be much money in it for people. So you know, it's that type of thing. But we need to start again, and we need to start very, very small, which is where I'm at. You talked there about, so what's your best advice to other people? So thinking about food and mental strength and all the connections, what would your advice, or what options would you put in front of people to say, look, here's an alternative that you could do in your life? In what way? That
would improve, it would be better for people's mental health, better for their diet, and as you mentioned there about the social aspect.
I think, well, if you're skint as well, there's nothing wrong with eating what you can afford. I sit in these meetings and they're like, oh, all the poor people, we need to give them free fruit and veg. Fuck off. They know they should be eating fruit and veg, but actually it's really bloody expensive. And if they've got 3 kids who all want pizza, well, the kids are going to get fed pizza, actually. You know, there's no shame in it. It just needs to be better, and the most vulnerable people in our society need to have access to better quality food. And I'm working really hard to take away the stigma of local food being elitist, because the term local food has an elitism attached to it, I believe. And it shouldn't. It should be available for everybody.
Can you get pizzas made for celiacs?
Yeah, but they're shit.
Are they?
Yeah.
So you got to
I love pizza.
You miss it?
Yeah.
And a Greg's sausage roll.
Oh, I love Greg's. I love Greg's. I'd love to work for their marketing team.
Yeah.
They're fantastic. Greg's Foundation's amazing. Big up to the Greg's Foundation. It's brilliant.
Greg sponsors some pasties.
Well, drop that in.
Yeah. Greg's Foundation can't beat it. Yeah. And there's a lovely lad. If you go to Greg's, go to the one in Linthorpe Village. The lad who works in there, I'll put in a recommendation for him. And the regional manager's going to give him a big thank you because he's great.
You're saying like, tomatoes grow down south.
Yeah,
if the kids want pizza, no.
It's just an example.
No.
Can I give you a really quick example?
Yeah,
right?
please do.
So, John and Julie, right? They live that end at Linthorpe Road. They both work. They've both got nice cars. They've got a nice house. It's Friday night.
Swingers.
Yep, you know the ones.
Long grass.
Yeah. You know the ones. They've had a week at work. Teenage kids. They've got a couple of friends around. They open a bottle of wine. They do a few lines of coke. We all know who these people are. And they order a Domino's for everybody. That's well deserved. Brilliant. Well done you, because you've had a hard week at work. You've earned that. Single mum and dad is living at that end of Linthorpe Road. They're working 2 jobs, coming home on a Friday night. There's 3 kids to feed, probably a couple of neighbours' kids as well, and they stop off for a bucket of chicken from one of the cheap chicken places. They take that home. That's frowned upon. Ooh. Feeding your kids fried chicken. It's frowned upon.
The other in.
Yeah, it's exactly the same situation, but because one has and one hasn't got what society deems as the correct things, then it's frowned upon, then that person is demonised for feeding the kids takeaway food.
I think there was a UN report, WHO report, about 10 years ago, and one of the things they said in it was the biggest cause of malnutrition in the world today is obesity.
Probably.
And I had to sit down and go, what the... And I thought about it, and I was like, oh, wow.
I'm loath to talk about obesity because obesity is caused by medical issues as well. It's caused by mental health issues. It's caused by generational issues. It's caused by poverty, crime. There's so much goes into it. And it just says, oh, fat people are not sinful people.
No.
Do you know what I mean? It is. I mean, there was once depicted, and it wasn't that long ago, really, on the side of the bus stops in Middlesbrough town centre, and it was a packet of cigarettes with an obese person on it, and I can't remember what the message was, but it was basically they were classing obese people the same as heavy smokers. I was like, no, that's just rude. So the obesity thing, I try not to talk about it too much because it's so complicated.
It is.
But the root cause of all this shit is poverty anyway. So
that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you. What's your plans for the next thing you're going to be doing with Barefoot?
I'm opening all this week. I've got a catering job on Wednesday. Also, I've got lots of things to do. I'm looking forward to going more into a consultancy role. I'm still keeping this going, but I'm training people up to do it. It's just the chefs that I work with at the moment have gone off on the festival circuit.
Oh, okay.
They work the festival circuit. I can't keep cooking for 12 hours a day. It's too much. And then I just eat shit when I go home.
Sounds like you've got a lot more to say about the system and a lot of things to get on with that as well.
Yeah, but no one listens. So you just got to crack on and do it. And that's why I've been chosen to be on this commission, because I just crack on and do stuff. Yeah. And that's what the people want. I just don't listen to the bullshit anymore. If I don't get off my ass and do it, no one's going to do it, and they'll do a far worse job at it.
That's it. And well, there's some powerful forces out there who are trying to get the hooks into our food systems as well, are they not?
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to make us fake food, literally fake food as well. So we've got to be wary, haven't we? Thank you, Liz.
It's all right.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
Right.
Thanks very much. So you're on socials. How can people find Barefoot Kitchen and what's available?
I don't know. Just no clue. Yeah, so I'll tell you. So at Barefoot Kitchen on both Instagram and
Facebook.
Facebook. We're even on LinkedIn as well. Did you know that?
I just don't.
Yeah, we'll drop all of this into our socials as well. Yeah. We're going to plug, because I want everybody to see that amazing food we had. I'm even going to push the pies. You haven't really talked about much of the pies because I've tasted them and I've worked with you the last few months.
Barefoot pies.
That's all I come down for, just to eat pies, because they're a big thing for around here. I really do think. But anyway,
so you come up Church Lane.
Yes, so it's access through the main gates of Ormesby Hall if you've got a National Trust pass, and if not, you can give us a ring. Numbers on the socials, and it is the rear entrance to the stables of Ormesby Hall, the Church Lane entrance.
Come in.
Need to try them.
Cool. Perfect.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you for your time. Have a great time. Soon. Day, week, month. Take care.